So that's also a clear warning that this meeting will be recorded, so it will be published later on. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, good morning. Thank you for joining today's event where the SNS-OPS project will present the results of our annual questionnaire. This is focused this year on call 2 of phase 2 SNS projects. So for the next 1.5 hours, we're going to present to you the results of our questionnaire, addressing technical, vision, and market aspects, but also for the first time looking into, let's say, some of the first accomplishments of call 1 projects and what sort of impact we managed to achieve on day 1. So let's get this ball rolling. I'll put this in full screen mode, which you can hopefully now see. And we are happy to have with us Colin Willcock, the chairman of the CGIA board, for a quick welcoming message. So Colin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kostas, and good morning, everyone. I don't want to spend too much time. You haven't come here to listen to me. You've come here to try and hopefully get an overview for what's going on in SNS-JU. Why is this important? Well, it's important fundamentally because we want to have one global standard. So the aim isn't just to have 80-odd individual projects, but really link those projects together to create a single system. And that's really what the SNS-OPS is trying to achieve, and why we have this questionnaire, so that we have an overview, not of single projects, but across the whole program. And obviously the work with working groups, the actual CGIA itself in many ways is trying to create a community so that we can actually achieve that goal of a single 6G standard. So today's presentation is very much looking at, or focusing on, what's actually going on with this new set of Call 2 projects. So they've been going for a while, and really trying to get an overview of what they're trying to achieve, their content from various different aspects. So that's what you will see in the following presentations, looking at particular angles. So let me just thank everyone for filling in the questionnaires, for providing this material, which we're going to present today. Let me thank the OPS people who have put all of this together, taken all these inputs and come up with a consolidated view. And then lastly, hope that we can all work together, phase 1, phase 2, all of the projects and the wider community to actually achieve our goals in 6G moving forward. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy this workshop. Kostas, I hand back to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Colin. So I'll take it back here with a bit of an introduction and what you can expect today, and a little bit of background on this questionnaire. So this is something that the SNS-OPS project has created as part of its monitoring and analysis framework, where we're tasked with trying to understand exactly what the projects are working on and creating communal insights as to what are the priorities on various aspects, and trying to make sense of it all, because we can easily get lost with this number of projects. It's important to look also at the big picture and to know what the projects are working towards. So the goal of the questionnaire is to get this better understanding of the work planned to be performed in each of the project. We do realize that we ask these questions relatively early on in the lifetime of the projects, but it's after they've started and after they had a chance to discuss internally and better plan their work. And it definitely helps us align our expectations and to know what each of us is working on. The questionnaire consists of 3 different sections: a technical section comprised of 11 questions, a vision section comprised of 6 questions, and a market section. I'll have the pleasure of presenting the results of the technical section. Then my colleague Didier from Nokia will take over to present the vision section. And again, my colleague Carneiro from Australo will take over to present the market section. In total, what we'll see today are the aggregated responses of the 28 projects of Call 2, which they provided between February and April 2024. We'll see some key insights extracted from that. And it was interesting that this time we had the opportunity to cross-compare with the answers that we got last year from Call 1. and to also provide the aggregated view, so to get the big picture of what the 63 projects that we have running right now in the SNS are working towards. This questionnaire is, of course, going to be reissued on an annual basis. So next year, hopefully, we'll come back with the call 3 results and how they compare to the first two. But this year, we also have an additional section of the questionnaire, which was about call 1 projects and what they managed to accomplish during their first year. So their key accomplishments and achievements in terms of the events they organized, the publications, contributions to standards, etc. So those are all very interesting data that we also managed to get this time. And my colleague Arda Gureller from Ericsson will have the pleasure of presenting this at the end. We will have a Q&A section at the end. But in the meantime, if you have a question and you don't want it to be forgotten, please do use the chat box, identify the speaker for which this question is addressed to, and we'll do our best to answer most of them. Please make sure that you're muted during the presentation to avoid having too much noise on the line. And thanks again for being here. And most of all, thanks to all the projects for providing this data. We do realize that we request sometimes for a lot of data, but it's for a good purpose. So without further ado, let me jump into the technical section. This section, as you see, comprises several questions. It's the biggest section we have, and it touches on the key performance indicators that the projects are using, the technological enablers, network aspects, what sort of verticals they're addressing, and their specific use cases and applications, how they're using AI and machine learning, standardization targets, validation methodologies, end user equipment, trials and pilots, and open source solutions. So we'll get some insights today on all of these angles for the SNS projects. Starting with potentially one of the toughest questions we had to process with regards to which of the specific objectives of the work program each of the projects are addressing. So hopefully you're aware that this time around in call 2, we had projects for stream B, C, and D. Each of these streams had defined specific objectives in the work program. And we try to identify which are being addressed as a primary objective and as a secondary objective by each stream. The overall results indicate that there's a good coverage of all the specific objectives. That shows that the goal was successfully covered, as we do have projects working on all the specific objectives defined in the work program, and that there is a good distribution between primary and secondary objectives, especially in stream B. Of course, this is a little bit stream B heavy, as call 2 is comprised of 25 stream B projects, 1 stream C, and 2 stream D projects. But let's dive right in. So for stream B, you can see on the right-hand side the specific objective, which might be a little bit wordy, but that's what we have to live with. And you can see the distribution of which of these objectives are being addressed as primary or secondary by the 25 call 2 projects. You will immediately see that objective B2 is about key technologies and architectures with high potential for 6G standardization. Is by far the most popular objective being addressed within call 2, and most of the times as a primary one. Then B3 and B8 are closely following up. B3 is on optimized architecture beyond the 5G service-based architecture, and B8 is about fostering European capabilities in key technologies, and notably AI, NML, software, and security enablers, advanced signal processing, and microelectronics. This comes as no surprise, as this was the focus of the call 2 work program, of the 2023 work program. The good thing here is that we can observe very good coverage of all the specific objectives. There's also a good balance between projects dealing with them as primary or secondary. This should offer for quite some opportunities for cross-comparison of results and communal insights. So overall, quite a successful coverage of the 2023 work program objectives. For stream C, things are a bit more straightforward. As mentioned, we only have 1 stream C project here, but it's very encouraging to see that it practically covers all of the specific objectives outlined for stream C projects in this work program. Most of them are dealt with as primary. We also have C6, which is dealt with as secondary. But all in all, it's as good as it gets, taking into account that this is only one project that we're talking about. Situation for Stream D is more or less similar. Here we are talking about two different projects. Again, there is a coverage of all the specific objectives outlined in the work program. Most of them as primary, addressed by both projects, and we see that they are sharing D3, where one of them is treating it as a primary and one of them is treating it as a secondary. Again, maybe not, maybe it doesn't make sense to drill down to more details. The key point here is that we see that the selected projects do handle the specific objectives outlined in the work program very well. There's a broad coverage and there's a very good overlap, especially in Stream B, which will allow some very interesting communal insights and cross comparisons at the end of the day. Now, moving on to the next question, which was about KPIs. So which are the main KPIs that each project addresses? And you can see here the responses of the 28 Call 2 projects. Energy efficiency is by far the most popular KPI. It's being addressed by 21 projects. And then we see that your LLC KPIs like reliability and latency are once again very popular together with big data rate and spectrum. What's maybe of interest here is how this compared to last year's results. So we were able here to have a cross comparison between the responses from Call 1 and Call 2, which does yield some very interesting results. So we see that energy efficiency, latency, and reliability, so typically your C KPIs are indeed the most popular for both calls. We see this trend across the 2 years. We see also that big data rate and spectrum efficiency are closely following this first group quite well. There are some differences between the two calls, and we can see, for instance, that positioning, mobility, user data rate, and connection density were a bit more popular in Call 1 projects. We see especially here that for user experience data rate, from 20 projects, it's dropped down to 8 projects. Of course, do keep in mind that Call 1 is comprised of 35 projects instead of 28. This is also a result of the specific focus of the work program. So, and it's also good that every year we are sort of adapting and making sure we cover everything. And to get the big picture, it's also important then to look at the aggregate results. So by combining the data we got from all active projects, as mentioned, that brings us up to a total of 63 active projects right now in the SNS-JU. And we can sort of make out 3 priority tiers, as we call them. At the very top, we have energy efficiency, reliability, and latency, which are by far the most investigated KPIs in all active projects. Then we can make out a second tier of big data rate, spectrum efficiency, user experience data rate, and positioning accuracy, which sort of make a second tier of popularity within the projects. And then we have some more KPIs, which are still addressed by quite a significant number of projects. It's not that little, but it's, let's say, less of a priority. But still very good coverage, very good overlap. And I think this nicely aligns with the vision sort of outlined in CG and in the work program. That was the situation about KPIs. Moving on to the next section about technological issues and aspects that the projects address. What are they focusing on? So looking at the data for the Call 2 projects, first of all, we see that there is a very broad range of technologies and enablers researched by Call 2. It's a very long list that we're investigating, and that's very encouraging. There are call-specific technologies that have been boosted in this specific call. So, for instance, low energy communication, JCAS, and microelectronics are quite more popular than they were in the previous call, as we'll also see potentially the next slide, as they were specifically called for in this work program. Then system network architecture, AI, ML functionality, and energy efficiency solutions are at the top of what Call 2 projects are investigating, which again makes sense with the trends we've seen also in the past. Um, Here, potentially, it made more sense to look at the big picture of call one and call two combined answers. And again, we do see some sort of prioritization popping up. So AI and ML functionality and system network architecture are by far the most investigated issues. That makes a lot of sense as we're in the initial phases of the SNS JU. And this has been, these two aspects have been heavily featured in the work programs so far. The other very good outcome is that we do see that there's a very broad range of technologies being addressed right now by the SNSGU projects. More than 22 different enablers or aspects are being investigated. That sort of is very encouraging for the expertise being built within Europe and how we can contribute towards this global 60 standard. The other good thing is that we see quite a lot of overlap within the projects, which does offer cross-comparison capabilities that will assist in the further validation of the outcomes and in the extraction of the common insights. So this is also very useful for our collaborative bodies, the steering board, the technology board, our working groups. That means that a lot of the projects will gain knowledge in this, we will have results to share, and as a community, we'll have a lot of interesting things to say about this once our research is concluded. Moving on to the next question, which was about the vertical sectors and the use cases and applications addressed within the Call2 projects. Again, here we can see that there's a broad coverage of vertical sectors in the Call2 program. Again, also affected, of course, by the specific work program of 2023. For instance, we see that Industry 4.0 and Smart City and Tourism verticals are the most popular between Call2 projects, while automotive has significantly increased in Call2 projects as a result of a direct request for contributions in this specific vertical. For the rest, again, we can see a very good coverage and overlap with other verticals, meaning that we do have a broad scope here, hopefully attracting synergies with a lot of these vertical industries. It's again very interesting to see how does this compare with the answers we got from the Call1 projects. Again, out of 63 projects, we see that again, Industry 4.0 and Smart City and Tourism have, let's say, retained their momentum from Call1 and Call2. We see, for instance, that Metaverse was introduced in Call2, which was not there at all in Call1, or that transport applications have increased in Call2. There are some other interesting things. You can see that, for instance, digital twinning applications were a lot more in the focus in Call1 with respect to what's happening in Call2. And some other, let's say, variations for multisensory XR, etc. Of course, taking into account that we're talking about a different number of projects. Again, 35 projects for Call1, 28 projects for Call2. The aggregate picture is again of interest. We see that in total from our currently active projects, Industry 4.0 and manufacturing is at the top of the list, along with digital training applications and transportation applications. There's a very broad coverage of vertical sectors, more than 16, let's say, different applications and use cases are addressed. And there is a very good overlap among use cases to be used for validation of results and extraction of communal insights. Do keep in mind that, of course, there are much more specific use cases if we drill down to it. We're hoping we're going to get even more insights based on the work we're currently doing on the vertical engagement tracker, where the specific use cases are being mentioned, and that new use cases are continuously being added in the SNSJU program as the program moves forward, as the new work programs call potentially for contributions to specific verticals, and of course, also based on the participation of experimenters to the open calls that several SNSJU projects have ongoing. So we do expect to have a much broader umbrella, and we're trying to get more data out of the different collaborative bodies on this. Then moving forward to the next question, which was about the use of AI and ML within the Call2 projects. So on the first question, whether the project will make use of AI and ML, we see that out of the 28 Call2 projects, 24 of them will actually make use of AI and ML. That's a very encouraging number, a very high number. That means we have a lot of, we expect to learn a lot based on the work of this project. A potentially more difficult question to answer was whether the projects plan to deliver or provide access to the AI training data sets. We know that especially AI data sets is a big piece of the puzzle here. We see that 7 of the projects have already committed to doing so. 8 have responded that they're probably not going to be able to, while the majority of the projects are it's still unclear for them whether they will be able to come back with the data sets. As mentioned, these are questions that we do ask relatively early in the lifetime of the project, so it is understandable that not everything is 100% clear within the projects themselves. Looking into what specific domains this AI functionality is planned to be implemented in and how that compares to last year's trends, we see that this remains relatively stable. So network management and orchestration is still the most popular field for AI ML application. And the interest of the projects remains more or less the same. So we can see that RAN aspects, device, terminal, core aspects, and security-related functions, they more or less follow similar trends. I think if we also see the aggregate result, it's exactly the picture we'd expect. So network management and orchestration far ahead as the most popular domain of application for AI ML, with RAN as a clear second place winner. Then device terminal core aspects and security related functions are more or less attracting similar interest, again with multiple projects addressing each one of them. So again, this is a very promising field that we hope will learn a lot once the projects start delivering the results. Moving on, as apologies for the quick speed here, but there are a lot of questions to go through and I don't want to take more time than needed. Going to the next question, which was about standardization and specification bodies being targeted by the projects. And we can see here how these numbers compare between call 1 and call 2. It is no surprise that ETSI and 3GPP are by far the most targeted bodies in both calls. Another interesting observation is that ORAN seems to be in the focus of call 2 projects, also a lot more as we're talking about less projects here. And IETF, IRTF, on the other hand, has attracted the interest of, let's say, relatively less call 2 projects compared to call 1. Overall, there is a balanced contribution across the different SDOs. And we also have data on the specific groups, working groups, specification groups, ISGs being targeted. You can see here the view of the most popular ones for call 2 projects, with 3GPP SA2 being the most popular, being followed by ORAN working group 3 and ETSI ISG ZSM. SA5, ORAN working group 2 and SA6 of 3GPP are again quite popular. What's interesting to note here that we didn't fit into the picture as it would be unreadable is that besides that, there are an additional 67 different specification groups or working groups or ISDs mentioned by the projects. Each of them once, but that shows a very broad spectrum that the projects are planning to tackle, and that's also very interesting to see what will come out of it. I think my colleague Arda at the end will show how call 1 projects were able to go to the standardization bodies and working groups and actually create contributions for them during 2023. Now, the next question was on the type of end user equipment used for testing and trialing and what they expect to have within the project's lifetime. We see here, of course, that mobile phones are the most popular in both call 1 and call 2 projects, that there are relatively steady trends, although some changes can be observed. For instance, no satellite or NTN UEs are observed in call 2, while robots, cobots, and XR are not really that visible in call 1 projects, where we, of course, also added them in the call 2 questionnaire. Other than that, there are no major surprises here. I think we also have the aggregate view of what this looks like over all our active projects. Again, mobile phones are by far the most popular, followed by CPEs, IoT sensors, and modem routers. And then all types of end user equipment are foreseen to be used in the trials. There is also a mention of more specialized UEs, but of course they're only used by projects that have a very specific narrow focus on certain technologies. So we do have some additional ones mentioned during our survey. Moving on then to the methods that the project will use to validate the results. So what type of maturity they're looking at, either if we're discussing more about lab tests or full-blown trials and pilots. We can see in the top figure here that lab validations of TRL4 are the most popular, let's say, validation method amongst call 2 projects, and then a bit lower than that and a bit higher than that, so TRL3 and experimentation POCs and trials of TRL5 or 6 are also relatively quite well covered for call 2 projects. We do expect to see some interesting results there. There are limited experiments of what we call high risk, meaning very low TRL. And the same goes for pilots with the ambition of some projects of reaching up to TRL7 in the final pilots. Looking at the bottom graph of when most of these projects plan to execute their tests and trials, we see that the second half of 2026 is the most popular. In general, the 2026 first half and second half is what most projects target, which makes a lot of sense, thinking that this project actually just started on January 2024. But we already see that early experimentation is set to begin from early 2025. Another interesting statistic here is where most of these tests and trials are expected to take place geographically in terms of EU nations. So again, we see a good spread across Europe. There are 19 different EU countries. There are experiments that will be carried out in 19 different EU countries. Greece, Spain, and the UK are in the top of the list of the locations that experiments will take place, while additional insights again are expected here from the vertical engagement tracker. As mentioned, this is an ongoing effort where we try to get some results on where more trialing will take place, on what exact vertical sector they will be addressing, etc. But for the time being, this is a high-level view that we can that can already give us some insight as to where call 2 projects are planning to perform their experiments. Then the next question is on how the different projects are engaging vertical stakeholders. We've seen that this is a very important aspect for all projects, and we see that the requirements provisioning is the most prominent way of interaction for projects from both calls. That has been at the top of the list for both call 1 and call 2. And user testing receives a lot more attention in call 1, apparently, as we see here at the bottom, while participation and engagement with associations was added as a new category in 2024 that was not there. And that's why this is 0 in call 1. For the rest, the trends remain relatively stable. And if we look at the aggregate picture, again, we see that requirements provisioning is at the top. The use of vertical devices and equipment for testing and trialing is a method that's really preferred by also a lot of projects. And the integration of vertical systems with the project developed platform is again something of interest that we can expect to see from a lot of projects. Overall, a good spread. It's good to see more active types of engagement. Of course, requirements provisioning is, let's say, the most straightforward one and the one that our community is used to, but it's also very encouraging to see that vertical stakeholders seem to be more and more embedded in the lifetime of the project. Then I will move to my final question from the technical section, which regards open source organizations that the projects are planning on contributing. Again, we see a very broad range, more than 21 different organizations mentioned. ORAN is by far the most popular, as we can see, and the OAI, Camara, and Teraflow SDN are coming close behind. For the rest, there is some overlap in the next 5 or 6 items mentioned, and then we see a lot of specificities which really depend on what the exact projects are working on, the specific solutions they're working on, etc. So this again, something that shows that the projects are indeed very extrovert to try to engage with the open source community, and open source solutions are expected to be a big part of what the projects will deliver. And with that, I will close the technical section. I'm gonna thank you for your attention. And seeing that there are no immediate questions in the chat, I would then not waste any more time and move straight ahead to my colleague Didier for the vision section.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks, Kostas. Hi, good morning, everyone. Can you see the screen? Full screen mode, it's okay?
Yes, everything works fine.
So very happy to meet all of you this morning for this webinar. So indeed, Kostas, thanks a lot. As we can see, there is a lot of material, a lot of extremely good inputs that have been provided by the different projects, and it's very great. So you have seen the technical section. So for the vision part, and then we will have, after this presentation, the market part. So I want to thank and to acknowledge Per from Telenor. He cannot be with us today, but Per was primarily focused on the analysis of the vision part. So I'm representing also, and I'd like to thank Per for his contribution to this work. So vision section. So basically, when you look at the different questions that were raised in the continuity of the questionnaire that was produced last year, so we focus on societal challenges. So one question, societal challenges, one on the societal values, one on the KVI, the key value indicator. You know, of course, and you see more and more development around the KVI and a lot of activities, a lot of step-by-step further better understanding and definition, and you have seen maybe that there is also this work on KV, the key value, then the KVI, the key value indicator, and a lot of discussion, brainstorming inside SNS and also globally outside of SNS with respect to the exact definition. How do you qualify and quantify the different key value? And you have also, and you certainly have seen and maybe contributed to this very great Elsevier paper that was, let's say, produced and released in the last month, and also the first push towards the 3GPP SA1. So it's really a very also promising work that is developing. So we will address this point. Then the 6G vision, one specific question on the 6G vision, and then sustainability and the UN, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, you know, the SDG, that are also very important at program and at project level. So all in one, let's say, these are the points addressed by the questionnaire on the vision section. So if we take a kind of helicopter macroscopic view, and then we will show details for each question. So basically, on the first question, energy and carbon footprint and carbon neutrality are considered the most important societal challenges. So when we look at the different project input, it's clearly very noticeable. And this is something that we consider, of course, globally at this stage. As Kostas mentioned, we are also carefully looking at where we stand today in the PPP in the SNS development, and how we gonna, let's say, also further progress in the forthcoming calls and work program. So sustainability, when you look, let's say, for the next question, and it's environmental, it's societal, it's economic. So basically, from a project perspective, and on top of that, it's the economical sustainability and innovation that is on top of the project feedback. Then we have seen from the technical perspective, you have seen the nice, let's say, graph, and we see clearly the way to address the KVI, the key value indicator, is through trials and experiments. So this is also a clear and very interesting input from the project. Then, in terms of 6G vision, on top, but it's really winning. It's affordability, scalability, flexibility, and efficiency, just followed by architecture. But this one, let's say, for the vision, is the most important for the Call 2023 project. And then, with respect to the SDG, as you know, SNS program has a prime target with four SDG, and we find, not surprised, let's say 3 of the 4 that are on top. And here we have also a comparison between the first phase and the Call 2023. So this is, let's say, the all-in-one. If I go now into more details, so as you can see, this one, contribution to societal challenges. If you look at the first one, so energy and carbon footprint, if you sum with the fourth one, energy efficiency, carbon neutrality, so clearly you see what is the key focus and the key, let's say, prime target in terms of societal challenge from the Call 2023, the Call 2 project. And then, as you see, also very important, of course, the European value-based approach, and also the affordability, accessibility is also on top, let's say, of the project target. Also to mention that we see in some project feedback the integration of ethics, legal, social science, humanities as important also topics related to societal challenges. Second question, the societal values. So here, as I was briefly introducing it, if you sum the economical plus the environmental plus the societal, it's really extremely high. Okay, so this is something a very big trend in the Call 2, in the Call 2023 project. And on top of that, it's the economical sustainability and innovation that is reaching the highest ranking. And then you see, I don't want to go in all details, step by step, we see a little less coverage or target with respect to democracy or with respect to trust or else, but globally, sustainability is high. And as Kostas explained, there will be its annual questionnaire, and it's a very, very important source of information. Thanks again to all of you for your contribution. We can expect, for instance, on sustainability that for the next year, for the Call 2024, with a strong focus on sustainability, there will be also high score for this specific societal value. Going to the next one, the KVI. So, and how your project address the KVI. So you see trials and experiment is really on top, okay, with 18 feedback, let's say, addressing this. However, you see questionnaire and measurement on deploy network are also highly ranked by the different projects. Also some plan interview, focus group. So different methods, and this is also the richness. And if I just put again the KVI here, as you know, it's developing a lot through different activities, from steering board, technology board, project perspective. And as you may know, there is a specific cross-project action with, let's say, several projects, including from Stream D, in order to address this point of the, let's say, the quantification of the KVI, in addition to the work from the vision working group, also, and so on and so forth. So it's very good to see a lot of federation of work at project level and also globally at program level. Going to the next one, so the vision, you see the affordable, scalable technology to ensure inclusiveness, and architecture is just after, okay? And then the great coverage everywhere is also of importance. And this aspect of unification of physical, digital, human worlds, as you know, that has been pushed also strongly from phase 1 with globally the flagship and all projects working on this 3 dimension and the interconnection and the synergies between these 3 dimensions is also, let's say, for the Call 2 project of lower importance, but still, of course, of a strong expected targeted contribution. Then last but not least, the SDG, the UN SDG, United Nations. So it's 9, 11, 8, and 13 that are, let's say, the top 4 at SNS level. So you see 9, 11, and 8 that are the, let's say, top 3 ranked. Climate action, it's interesting also this curve, this graph, because you see the delta between the Call 1, the phase 1, so the 35 project, and the call 2, the call 2023, with the 28 project. So climate action is lower. Globally, for the 3 on top, it's still very high. And we see SDG 17, the partnership that is coming up, upper compared to phase 1. It's also interesting when you look in the details of the SDG. If you don't master, let's say, the set of SDG, you can also, it's an encouragement to look backward, let's say, to the UN site. And so basically, it's connected also to developing countries and globally the partnership. So it's good also to see this SDG 17 stress, and then you see the different over SDG. So again, we know SNS from the early start of the program, pre-definition has put a lot of stress. I can tell you, working with several of you in the definition of the draft work program, we are working now on the draft work program 2025, that clearly in each work program, as you know, the SDG are stressed and are very important at programmatic level. And that's it from my side. So, and again, just closing, thanking and acknowledging the big contribution from Per, from Telenor on this part. I give you the hand back, Kostas, and I think it will be Jessica now. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Didier. Very efficient, actually, and very quick. So since you've been this quick, I think there are already a couple of comments that we can maybe address while Jessica gets ready to go to the market section regarding your first couple of points being inverted with regards to reduction of energy and carbon footprint and sustainability. So I'm not sure if, I get the point, or if Monique or Jesus would like to clarify the question.
Yeah, can you clarify? I'm going back to the slide. Yeah, what is exactly the point of, I'm just also discovering the chat now, so yeah. What's the point of Monique?
Monique?
If I may,
Yeah,
Didier,
please. Yeah, please.
I just thought that in the slides where you had bullets in your slide, if you go back here, here we have energy and carbon footprint and neutrality are considered societal challenges. I think energy and carbon footprint belong to the environmental challenges. But I see that also afterwards. So then I thought maybe it's the way in which the questions were put.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I would say that energy and carbon footprint are much more directly related to the environmental aspects. So that was, so I thought there was some inversion, but then I saw the graphs and then I thought.
Yeah, you see the point. In fact, thanks, Monique. If I address first, I don't know if you have several questions, but this one first. Indeed, the way the question, as Kostas explained, we have had the first questionnaire last year that was, let's say, first good attempt, to start entering into discussion with the project to better understand the plan and so on. And clearly, we have also leveraged the phase 1 questionnaire experience to best define, let's say, the questionnaire for the call 2023. So we have indeed, let's say, further updated, and this is why in some cases the comparison cannot be direct between the question from last year and for this time. But for this time, for this edition, indeed, as you can see, we have defined the societal challenges and the societal values. So on your point, this is the way the questionnaire has been framed and organized, and this is the feedback that we have received asking for the project. Yeah.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting because if we look at the way in which the project answers, it's clearly indicates that they have, there is a lot of misunderstanding, or maybe we should try to clarify what is societal versus what is environmental and how they relate, because of course there's a close relation. So that's it. But for me, it's a very interesting outcome. And of course, it's a point of reflection for the 64 Society project. Exactly. So it's very interesting. Thank you, Didier.
Yeah. No, you're welcome. And this is exactly the point I wanted to mention, is that the CSA, 64 Society you are working with, clearly can expand, and address this point as and take this as feeding, let's say, the CSA and later on also the work of some potential working group or task force. And this is the point globally, and thanks Monique for stressing this point. It's the point globally that we use, this source of information is very precious. As Kostas mentioned, we are the CSA asking also input and soliciting the different projects, but it's always very useful. I just give another example. So Monique, you mentioned you're going to use it, and it's very great. In fact, when you look, for instance, I was mentioning the draft for program 2025. Some of you know that we exploit a lot, including, for instance, the question of the vertical, of the coverage, of the trials and experimentation, and all this, and how the project so far develop and cover in order to best define if we have gaps, if we have already a lot of coverage, and how to best orientate the next calls for project. Yeah. Now, thanks, Monique. There is another question. I don't want to take too much time, but there is another question on the chat, maybe.
There is, but I don't want to take too much time
Okay.
Jessica's slot, because
Sure.
let's go to Jessica's slot. We can come back to Katrina's question maybe during the official Q&A. Apologies for that, but Jessica, please, the floor is yours.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I hope you can see my slides already. So I cannot promise to be as efficient as Didier, but I will try my best. So let's go straight into the subject matter. So here we are going to go through the market section. It covers several topics such as the key technologies and innovations for 6G, main market trends, the 6G impact on vertical sectors, the validation methods of business opportunities, main obstacles for the development, novel markets, and key exploitable results. In addition, this year we included 2 new questions that you can see in light blue about the SME participation and how it's promoted through the projects, and the 6G return of investment. So as for the first question, it relates to the biggest market changes expected in the domain market area with the advent of 6G. So energy efficiency tops the ranking, followed by automation and lower technology barriers. It's interesting as well to see how the increased integration and openness of solutions are also anticipated to have a remarkable impact. In this question, we were not able to provide a straight comparison with last year's call, because last year it was in free text, but overall it follows the same pattern with very, very little differences. So we see things like the exploitation, increased security and privacy, and so on, and they are following same trends. As for which of the technologies and innovations do you expect to play an important role in the telecommunications market in the coming years, open and disaggregated solutions plus AA-based solutions are top in the ranking. They are anticipated to be the main drivers in the telecommunication market. They are closely followed by localization and sensing, alongside sustainability and energy efficiency. So as we saw with the Didier presentation, there is a strong focus in everything sustainable and everything related to energy efficiency. On the other hand, the RAN devices and TN, PN are estimated to have the lower impact. It's quite interesting to see that there were certain differences with the 22 call. So, of course, open and disaggregated solutions remain mostly the same. However, if we attend to the actual number of projects, 82% of the projects in 2023 chose these versus 58 of the projects in the previous call. AI-based solutions and sustainability and energy efficiency continue to be amongst the top technologies, and this is a trend that was already established last year. localization and sensing that we have mentioned that have really occupied a very prominent place for projects have really gained relevance if we compare them with last year. So it's 75% in 2023 versus 55% in 2022. Similarly, cloudification has also gained relevance with this call. But the main difference is found when we check the dynamic and zero-touch network management. This was really popular in 2022, with 64% of the projects working or selecting this as expected to have an important role. However, this year, less than half of the projects chose this. So this was one of the main differences. And of course, just to let you know that some of these predefined answers were based in the 22 call. So there was, even though we cannot establish that direct comparison, there was a follow-up in the question. Moving to the vertical sectors that are expected to be most affected by the advent of 6G. Of course, we have Industry 4.0 and manufacturing. This is by far the sector in which most projects agree that there will be, in which 6G will really have or will really play a big role. Smart cities rank second, even though only slightly less half of the projects chose this, which shows that there was a lot of diversity of opinions across the projects in this year. And on the bottom of the, let's say, the scale, space, tourism, culture, and agriculture and farming are the sectors less expected to experience a big impact. When we look at the responses from last year, the biggest difference is in the media XR. Last year, in 2022, 64% of the projects thought that media and XR could be very disruptive with the introduction of 6G. But now in 2023, less than 30% of the projects think that. So this was a huge change in just 1 year. Smart cities have really gained momentum. So they are topping the ranking, as said before, whereas in 2022, only 39% of the projects were selecting these. Automotive, of course, continues to be on the top. But last year, we placed together automotive, transport, and logistics. And therefore, those were very important. But this year, we split automotive from transport and logistics. And this, as you can see in the graph, it really showcased that automotive remains at the forefront, whereas transport and logistics, not so much. So this was an interesting finding as well on how just maybe, we should continue to make this split to really know what's going on with both sectors, that while very close, they are slightly different. And of course, the sectors expected to be least impacted remain the same. No project in 2023 selected ecology, which it was an option that some projects selected in phase 1. And no project in any of the 2 calls selected construction as a vertical sector that could benefit from 6G. About the validation of business opportunities. Here we can also see a significant change or variation between the calls. So the phase 1 projects in 2022 prefer working closely with use case owners. Actually, 70% of the projects selected that. However, in 2023, the projects, only 39% of the projects selected that option, preferring by far developing hypotheses about the needs of verticals for a specific technology, which less than half of the projects had selected in the previous call. The use of a value proposition canvas has grown as well. The application of methods suggested by 6GIA has increased as well. And most of the methods, of the other methods, remain quite a bit the same. But I have to say that the use of open calls, it's also very related to those projects that actually envisage open calls within their very same grant agreement. About how to assess commercial viability, return of investment. So most projects prefer or opt to conduct a techno-economic analysis. Assessing the target markets is also quite relevant. Similarly, the adoption of innovations, the quantitative modeling of cost side, the identification of cost items, and the total cost of ownership are also considered, although to a less extent. The McKinsey 3 Horizon of Growth method is the least used. This was also a new question that, as I said at the beginning, that was asked for the first time to the 2023 projects. If we move to the greatest obstacles, well, of course, lack of demand and deployment costs top the ranking. Those are considered to be the main obstacles to the implementation of 6G. The security and privacy concerns have grown as well, and challenges related to spectrum availability seem to be more pressuring. Obstacles regarding the lack of trust in IA solutions or the lack of willingness to allow interoperability have diminished, and we can see the comparison here. Also, together with the lack of willingness to allow interoperability, the low carbon solutions have lost some or are less concerning, let's say, for this new batch of projects. And the degree, like the lack of demand, has surpassed the deployment costs as the most concerning obstacle. Yes, and this, as for the same, you can see some differences, but they are not quite as stark, except for the challenges related to spectrum availability that have almost doubled. This is a very complex question because it was free text, so we had to work to group the answers. But do you believe that enhancing 5G towards 6G can accomplish a similar mobilizing of the ecosystem forward? If yes, what would be your estimate as to the novel market sector that 6G might enable? So there is a consensus around the potential of 6G for transforming the current ecosystem. So everybody or all the projects are very positive of the potential of 6G. Some projects underline that probably 6G will help to meet or to fulfill some expectations that were not met by 5G. In terms of novel markets, most of the 2023 projects have mirrored or echoed those novel markets that had already been mentioned by the projects in the previous phase. So we have IoT, immersive ecosystem, edge computing, or smart cities. The social impact of 6G has also been brought quite or more frequently. So we have some additional details like 6G is expected to bring new and advanced solutions to tackle societal challenges, promoting digital inclusivity, environmental sustainability, societal well-being, and so on. So this was also a difference from or with respect to last year. More details were also provided towards some markets that in 2022 projects only kind of hint, but 2023 projects have elaborated on those markets. So we have the 5G, 6G virtualization, and here we have things like the current network of the operator is increasingly being provided as a service. The new trend is to outsource it to some cloud provider. Edge computing is anticipated to be required for extremely demanded yet highly promising new services, and we have a list of those. Of course, we have artificial intelligence and machine learning to introduce a new paradigm in the technological landscape, adding a new dimension to the 6G ecosystem. And some uses mentioned were network optimization, autonomous decision-making, enhancement of various applications, such as autonomous systems, and so on. If we look at the artificial intelligence, there are some projects mentioning the combination of generative IA and 6G to create new business models. Also the creation of integrated services, combining different domains and technologies that are orchestrated by IE, and that they could be key to develop novel markets. The seamless integration of communication and sensing capabilities was also something mentioned by phase 1 projects. And we have this new concept of perceptive network in this year. Of course, we have the enhanced communication services like holographic communications, quantum communication, the advanced simulation and digital twinning, and the different ways this can be applied in sectors such as manufacturing, urban planning, infrastructure management, and so on. The advanced radio access technologies were also mentioned. So we have Open RAM and massive MIMO that are expected to enhance communication and sensing capabilities. So everything is very tied together, like there is cross-fertilization between technologies, innovations, and business markets. The autonomous system and drones, of course, also have a place, and this could be impacting the autonomous transportation, the delivery service, the infrastructure inspection, disaster response, environmental monitoring, among others. Internet of Things is expected to just exploit, and smart cities and industrial IoT are anticipated to be the two sectors where this will have the most impact. Immersive technologies, this keeps coming up, augmented reality, virtual reality, and the possibility to provide an immersive experiences, or even to a certain extent fulfill the metaverse wishes, is mentioned. And of course, gaming, entertainment, education, healthcare, remote collaboration are some of the applications. And finally, yeah, we have also a specific mention to the personalized healthcare and remote medicine, and how 6G and the allowing of the real-time monitoring could really open new possibilities in the healthcare sectors, as well as really exploit or open new market segments, focusing overall on societal well-being and sustainability. So reaching almost the end, we have this M8 question about the key exploitable results. So what we have done is just categorize those into quite big categories. So you won't be surprised by this, but of course AI and ML. So we have reference frameworks for 6G networks, such as AA native toolkits, AA driving, resource management, orchestration, trustworthiness, and so on. The advanced network management, so orchestration and automation, learning and management. The federated approaches are also seem to be a hot topic. Security and privacy has been underlined by many projects. So zero-touch security, end-to-end security orchestration systems, energy efficiency with new architectures and solutions, of course, with automation and IE being key to this. 6G specific technologies. So here we have like the physical and network architecture, but we also can highlight the communication and sensing. And most projects indicate TRLs between 3 and 4, which is not a huge difference compared to last year. So it doesn't seem that the projects have really aimed to higher TRLs. And just to finalize, how do the projects promote SMEs? So there are 75 SMEs involved in the current call with 28 projects. There were 88 SMEs the previous year. So the main activities is the active participation of SMEs as members of the consortiums, the product and technology development, improving or enhancing the SMEs portfolio, helping them to really develop new products or just improve those that they have. The possibility to, or the support to market expansion. They have access to new markets thanks to the innovations being developed. And to this, it also really plays a big role, the possibilities of collaboration and networking, not only within the consortium, but with other SNS projects and beyond. That also helps SME to find new potential partners, new potential customers, and so on. Of course, open calls, providing direct funding to some activities. The fact that some projects provide training and help with the outreach of the results, and new business opportunities that might arise as, let's say, a combination of all these. So this is further detailed in the slides, but I think it's we are on time, and I think it's not very necessary we go right now here, as the slides will be shared anyway. So thank you very much, and I'm very happy to take any of your questions.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jessica. Indeed, we're right on time, and we need to move forward then to the last section of today's webinar, where Arda will be presenting the key numbers from the Call 1 highlights and accomplishments during 2023. So let's go through that, and then we'll have some time at the end for the Q&A. So Arda, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me and see my screen.
Everything looks great. Please go ahead.
Great. Thank you. I know I have a limited time. I have 10 minutes and I have 15 questions to represent, so I will try to be quick as much as possible. So actually this beautiful picture gives you an overview of the achievements of the 35 projects from the Call 1. I should remind you that I must remind you that these projects achievements between January 2023 to December 2023 are represented here. And this information came from the input from those projects' achievements. And if you can see from the left side, these 35 projects actually contributed to different events. They have contributed in two ways. They have organized 100 events, and also they have supported or contributed 314 different events. And if you look at the tests and trials that they have done 46 proof of concepts and lab tests, and they have also done 25 trials and pilots in their survey results. If you look at the publications, they have contributed 129 peer-reviewed articles, and they have also published 14 white papers, and they have also contributed to 230 conference papers. And they have also contributed to standards with number of 308, which is quite good, I assume. And if you look at the patent applications, they have contributed 32 patent applications. And also, if you look at the open source, the projects use 132 open source to develop their projects. And while they use those open source, they have also contributed to open source. They have submitted 29 contributions to open source, and 23 of them are accepted. Now I will go in detail for those numbers. So I will try to be quick because these are just mostly the numbers. How many events has your project organized in 2023? As you can see per stream, total events organized 100, and most of the events are organized by the stream B projects and 43, and SNS-OPS project has the highest event organization with 13 events. And if you look at the distribution of the events and top three on the left side, you can see the workshops has the highest number, 34, webinars 26, and the special sessions 9. And here we try to create a word art due to the structure of the input. We can also show this type of word art. You can see that the repeated event names are highlighted here. If you look at again the events, but this time not organized, but supported or contributed, in total 314 events supported or contributed. Again, stream B has the highest number, 189, and the Android 6G project from stream B has the highest event support with 22 events. And if you look at the supported contributed event types, there are conferences 70, workshop 49, and the panel 33. So this is the top three panels, events that the event support. And here are the event name titles again in the word art structure. How many peer-reviewed journal, magazines, articles has your project authored? This was the question 3. Total authored peer-reviewed journal, magazine articles are 129. Stream B has the highest contribution with 93, and HexX2 project from Stream B has authored highest number, 14 peer-reviewed journal, magazines, articles. How many conference papers has your project authored? Total number was 230. Again, Stream B has the highest number, 146. And season project from Stream A has the highest conference papers, 33. Question 5 was, how many book chapters has your project authored or contributed? In total, we only have 2 book chapters contribution, and this is coming from Nancy project, Stream A project, and they have contributed 2 book chapters. How many white papers has your project authored or contributed to? In total, there were 14 white paper contributions. Stream A and B have the equal number of contribution. Season project from Stream A has the 4 contribution, highest contribution to white papers amongst other projects. Yes, how many contribution to standards submitted by your project? You can see here that the total number of standards contribution were 308. Stream B contribution is the highest, as you can be seen from it here, 219. XX2 project, Stream B has the highest contribution by number of 103. If we look at the top 10 ranked standardization, on the left side, you can see the top 3, 3GPP SA5, SA3, and SA2 has the highest interest. And if you look at how many IPR that your project has created, question number 8, in total 32 IPR applications done. Majority came from the Stream B, as you can see also from the graph. And Centric project from Stream B has the highest contribution with 14 IPR applications. And this one is about the proof of concepts and test contribution. In total, there were 46 proof of concepts and lab tests execution. Stream B has the highest amount here, 33. TrialsNet has the highest contribution with 15. General comment from the projects was the projects, it's an early phase to start those type of activities. And how many trials or pilots has your project executed? In total, it was 25. Stream D has the highest number, 13. 6G Sandbox from Stream C has the highest number of trials pilots, which is 10. Again, the comment was same for those trials and pilots. It's an early phase for them to do those trials and pilots. How many open source solutions has your project used? It was in total 132. Stream B has the highest usage of open source, and 6G Sandbox Stream C project has the highest open source usage, with number of 20. If you look at the top ranked open source solutions, it's mostly Open 5GC, Kubernetes, OpenSlice, top 3. I am running a little bit quickly, sorry for that, but I know the time constraint. How many open source solutions your project generated or submitted? In total, they have submitted 29 open source contributions, and 23 of them accepted. As you can see, the majority of them come from the Stream B. They have submitted 14, and 10 of them are approved. Season project has the highest open source contribution with 5. And Centric project has the highest accepted open source contribution by a number of 4. And these are the open source contributions organization. And question 13 was, has your project experimented with energy efficiency? Only 5 projects have their experiments in the energy efficiency. Rest did not start it yet. Some projects commented that they have the simulations and for their energy efficiency solutions, but the outcomes will come mostly in the second period of their project. And high risk research projects, 7 projects indicated that they are contributing to some risk projects between 0 to 25%. 4 projects said that they are having some high risk research between 25 to 50, and 4 projects said that they are contributing to high risk research activities between 50% to 75%. And final question, what was the obstacles that they have seen. We have divided this to two. First one is managerial obstacles, challenges. Most of the obstacles were coming from the human resource recruitment. This was a problem to find experienced 5G, 6G experts. Change in the technical management of the project was the second complaint. Delays in deliverables. Of course, the open calls under Stream D was an issue, and also UK participation to projects delayed a bit, and those were the main managerial obstacles. And final slide is about the technical obstacles. I will not read through, but these are the main obstacles, such as subsystem fabrication issues, meaningful data sets for AI usage. That's it from my side. Sorry for being a little bit rushy, but due to the time constraints, I leave the word to you, back to Kostas, if you have any questions and anything else.
Thank you very much, Arda, for very successfully performing this very difficult task of presenting 15 questions in 10 minutes. I really appreciate the effort. So let's quickly go to the Q&A part. Let me just preempt a couple of basic questions. Yes, all slides will become available via the event webpage. You'll be able to download them, including the recording of today's event. So you can send to colleagues that could not be here with us today. And to then maybe comment on something that, at least partially, I hope will also answer Katrina's question. The fact that this questionnaire is a breathing, living organism. I mean, the SNS-OPS team we're also learning as we go forward. We spend a lot of time trying to process the results and what we learn from each edition of the questionnaire, how to improve it, how to answer more, how to ask more targeted questions that will also result to better quality answers. It's not as a trivial task as you might think. But again, we try to improve every year based on what we learn, based on how we see that the different answers have been different questions have been answered. With that in mind, we also try to keep most of our questions to a multiple choice format, because that allows us for processing it in a way that we can have some communal insights. We've seen in the past that asking too many open questions results in extremely diverse answers, which are not easily lead to some communal insights. That does have the disadvantage that a lot of times we cannot get too deep into a certain subject. So Katrina, indeed, we do have a question on sustainability. It's also mostly on multiple choice. We do offer the chance for people to further comment on the response. A lot of times either they don't, or even if they do, it's not something that statistically we can take as an outcome from the projects themselves. And we're also very much aware that there is a limit to how many questions we can ask the projects, as they are already very busy, and this is already a time-consuming exercise on their behalf. So we have to accept the limitations of this exercise, which is meant to provide us some high-level insights. It's not meant to really drill down into details, but we do try to get as more knowledge out of it as possible. And we have observed in the past that indeed the vision section is one of the most challenging ones. We have to face it that we are mostly addressing a community of engineers and people with technical backgrounds. So usually the technical section is relatively has more straightforward answers. The vision section, indeed, we do see that there is a lot of disparity in the answers we get. And we continuously try to update it to have a better fit. And all feedback is welcome, as the SNS-OPS team does take this into account when trying to reduce the version. I will stop here, then open maybe the floor to questions from the audience. I see Didier already.
If I may briefly also to complement your point, Kostas, indeed, and coming back to the point of Monique, Katrina, and Jesus, indeed, when we decide at one point in time, so when we define the questionnaire to clusters, frame, organize the question for the vision in terms of societal challenges and societal value. Indeed, we know sustainability. Of course, we know you have sustainability. You can look at it from an economic perspective, societal perspective, environmental perspective, and so on. But the way, as Kostas also reminded, you frame and organize the question in order to possibly collect and organize the data is this way. So for next year, it may be potentially improved. And again, 6G for society will be also welcome because there is discussion also between SNS-OPS and TB and SB before launching the questionnaire. So it will be also welcome potential feedback before the launch of the questionnaire next year. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Didier. I see Monique, you have your hand raised, please.
Thank you. I just put it in the chat, but I wanted to ask, maybe I missed that. What would be very interesting is to have also a snapshot or a better understanding of the how the community, how the organizations in the SNS have changed. So what is the constitution of the respondents to the questionnaire? Type, size, geographical location, type of business, how many new? Because there are many organizations that are still, they are in both call 1 and call 2. So it would be interesting, and maybe I just missed that, maybe it's somewhere in the slides, but maybe it would be interesting to try to interpret some of the variations in relation to the changes of the population that is answered. So that's a very important factor to have meaningful analysis of the data we collect. So I was wondering if you have a snapshot of the community of the respondents of the call 1 versus call 2. Also, how many new organizations have joined via the second call projects and stuff like this. It's an open question.
Okay, yes, thank you. Quick answer from my side. We usually only keep track of a couple of these things. So we definitely keep track of the SME participation. I think already Jessica mentioned that when we have 75 in one case and 85 in call 1. Some very high level insights on this are could potentially be discovered. We haven't done a very specific study as some of the things you mentioned, Monique, are not that easy to find and quite time consuming. So type of business for each and every participant of SNSJU, which is more than 400, 500 companies, is not a trivial thing to do. We could try to investigate if some of these categories we can find out. For instance, we do have geographical, we try to get a better insight on the geographical distribution of trials and everything. But that's as much as we have right now. And as David mentions, the questionnaire are answered by project and not by organization. So again, depends on what kind of difference we would see, even if the constitution of the consortium was a little bit different. And I see maybe Didier also wants to.
Yeah, if I may briefly, because we are out of time and we are also expecting to go in other meetings, but it's a very good point, Monique, that we are discussing also in SNS-OPS, but globally at SNS programmatic level, and also including, I see that we have some colleagues, some officers from SNS office, with respect to the question of potentially the use for this kind of cartography or meta-analysis, that is very important indeed, and the evolution of the beneficiary and the project partner and how 6GI member are also involved and so on, with respect to the use of the so-called EC dashboard. You know, so this is a question in order to rapidly access to reliable information in order to, from different angles, make some specific cartography. So your point indeed, Monique, beyond that, Kostas mentioned, for instance, we are looking at stream C, stream D, you know, all the action related to geography, cartography, distribution. One of the questions that we have also, just to close, is how can we also enrich the programmatic understanding of SNS through the open calls, because it's more difficult to understand and assess globally the perspective with the outcome of the open call. So this is something we are looking also at through the steering board task force on open calls. So points that we can address offline, Monique, but it's a very good question. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Kostas and Monique.
Thank you very much. I know people need to move on, but let me see if there are any other, let's say, burning questions. Okay, I guess not. Then let's close this event for today. Thank you very much to the speakers, the presenters, and all of you for joining us. As mentioned, the material will be available, and any sort of feedback is always very welcome. As we mentioned, we're already starting the work on the next edition of the questionnaire that will hopefully hand over to the next CSA, as SNS-OPS is due to end around March next year. So many thanks to everybody. Have a nice day. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you all.